this. So, well, as we begin the question process here, to make sure that everybody understands that things are confident and the motivation is strong here, and we're determined. We're determined to win this and make sure that we reverse our losses as much as possible. So the first question is, what's the difference between Hamas and Hezbollah? Hamas and Hezbollah are both terrorist organizations. They're both funded by Iran. Hamas also receives funding from Qatar. The Hamas is centered, for the most part, in Gaza. They're an offshoot of something called the Muslim Brotherhood, which is a very old organization that started in Egypt decades ago. Hezbollah is a terrorist organization that is based in South Lebanon, also stationed in Syria. They are completely an arm and a branch of Iran. They do not have their own independence. They are fully funded and fully take orders from Iran. They have Iranian soldiers embedded with them. So that's the difference. Hezbollah is a lot more qualified and a lot more talented. They have a lot more military precision. They are a trained army, while Hamas is more a militant terrorist group. So Hezbollah is a lot scarier, and they're in terms of their abilities to be able to cause harm. Israel could kill and destroy both Hamas and Hezbollah if need be, but those are the differences between them. Have you heard anything about the Palestinian Authority making any sort of statement about this? Yeah, Palestinian Authority came out and made a statement supporting the Palestinian right to self-defense. Yeah, Mahmoud Abbas, our world famous anti-Semite, who's supposedly our moderate partner for peace, did not condemn Hamas, which is a rival of his. So the Palestinian Authority is fully on board, and I consider fully supportive of this. And in that sense, they've dug their own grave. Israel's in a catch-22 with the Palestinian Authority, and the fact that we kind of need them to keep the streets of the Palestinians calm. So that's where the Palestinian Authority is coming.
It is for our country.
Remind everybody to please stay on mute. Okay, so how can we speak to young kids? What is going on? So I think that when it comes to young children, and I'm not, look, I'm an educator, I'm a parent, but I'm not a psychologist, and I'm not a therapist. But I think that when it comes to young kids, I think that truth is important, but a modem of truth. I think that it's important to tell children that something bad has happened in Israel, but that the Israeli army is taking care of it and is going to try to make sure that things are better, that people are getting treated in hospitals and doctors are seeing the people that got hurt. And every once in a while, bad things happen in Israel, but Israel, for the most part, is a safe place. I mean, 95% of Israel is completely safe today. So I think that's conveying a positive message for them to see that you're both saddened by what happened as parents, but also confident and determined that Israel is going to be okay. And I think it's very good to take children aside and pray with them and teach them how to communicate themselves outside the words of our Siddur to Hashem. I think this is a wonderful opportunity to teach them to directly engage with God. So in that sense, that's how I would advise speaking to children about this, not getting them too scared, but explaining that bad things have happened, obviously not going into details, but that, again, getting across the determination and the confidence that things are going to be better and that things get better every single day. What can we do as Jewish youth to speak out on this? So I've been speaking about doing three things. Number one, praying. Prayer is incredibly important. Number two, calling your local member of Congress and senators. Very easy to do. Google who is my member of Congress, and then calling your member of Congress and saying to them that I support Israel and that I want to make sure that Israel has everything that it needs to defend itself. Very simple message. You don't have to be an expert, but pretty easy to do. And then the third thing is donate. Donate to any organization that you know of that is in Israel. I'm not going to suggest different donations. They're all very good, and they're all very helpful. And it doesn't have to be a large donation. A small donation is important as well. How is there no intelligence? This took months for planning at least. How is the border breach without being detected? Look, these are very important questions, and I don't, we know what happened. We know that they came in, they destroyed first the control towers that observe what's happening, and this all had took place within minutes. A barrage of rockets that hit next. And then came the breaching of the fence. So that's what happened. How did our intelligence fail on this one? I don't know. This is the people talk about the Yom Kippur Wars as a great intelligence failure. This was a much greater intelligence failure on the part of Israel. And first, we're going to take care of ourselves. We're going to defend ourselves. We're going to hit back with vengeance at our enemies. And then will come the time for the politicians to sit down and think about how did this happen and what their role should be in Israel's future, if any. Do you know what the morale of Palestinians in the West Bank is right now? They're scared. They're scared. Palestinians in the West Bank are scared. They're, for the most part, they're happy that this happened. I know that sounds horrific, but Palestinians have 93% of Palestinians have anti-Semitic views. Don't kid yourself. There isn't like some sort of Hamas extremist, and then there's everybody else. No, that's not how it works. I'm sorry if that sounds harsh, and I'm sorry if you disagree with me, but knowing Palestinians, that's the truth. But they are scared that this could extend into their backyard. So that's why you don't see Palestinians protesting or demonstrating in the streets. Do you think it's safer for Americans to stay in Israel or risk going to the airport to get a flight home? Okay, so first of all, traveling around Israel is perfectly safe. I've driven to Tel Aviv since the start of this. I've driven back. Yesterday I went to Jerusalem. I walked around the streets of Jerusalem. It's safe here in Israel, okay? I wouldn't walk around next to the Gaza border, but I probably wouldn't have done that anyway. So it's perfectly safe. It's safe to go to the airport. I don't think anybody needs to go back and leave Israel. I really don't. We're safe here. Every day gets safer. And if you're worried, so just stay in your school or stay in your at work. Today my office is opening up. I'm going to go to work in about an hour and a half. I'm excited to go back to work. Then not every day I get to say that, but I'm excited to see my coworkers. A lot of my coworkers are on reserve duty. My boss is on reserve duty, and I kind of feel bad that I'm not able to help in that sense. But there's no reason to. I say this with full confidence. There's no reason to leave Israel now. There really isn't. Plus, it's going to be very hard to get a flight because the American airlines aren't flying. Do you have any sense of how Israeli Arabs are feeling about this and who they're siding with, for example? Again, I think that's very simple. Arabs are somewhat they feel that they're glad that someone stuck it to Israel, but also worried that this could drastically affect their lives if things get out of hand, which is why we're not seeing Arabs rioting in the streets. If you remember in 2021, Arabs rioted in the streets in favor of Hamas. We're not seeing that, and there's a reason. They know that will boomerang on them very quickly. Israel has zero patience for its Arab citizens doing anything. Do you know where Hamas is sourcing its weapons? One of my professors said something about smuggling Brazilian weapons. I don't know what Brazilian weapons are. I've never heard about that. Hamas manufactures its own weapons, and Iran supplies it with weapons. They smuggle it in usually through the borders of Egypt. There are tunnels, sometimes in the sea. Okay. In the Torah, saving a Jewish life is of high importance. How does this play a role in the army? Sending soldiers by foot or not? Saving the hostages is very good question. It's a balance. It is a balance of how do we save hostages' lives? How do we save Israeli soldiers' lives? And how do we save Israeli civilians' lives and deterrence and making sure that this doesn't happen again? That Hamas pays a high enough price to make sure that this doesn't happen again. So that's all those calculations come into effect. Thankfully, that even though we're not a religious army, our leadership and a religious country, our leadership does take life very seriously. So all these factors have to be considered. I don't know how we're going to manage a ground offensive into an area where we have hostages, knowing that we're putting our hostages at risk. But that's what our leadership is going to have to decide. Do you see anything in Israel getting worse due to the amount of resources Iran got? Yeah, any cent that Iran gets, any cent, 1 cent, makes Iran more capable of causing harm in the world and to Israel. So it's infuriating that anybody would think it's a good idea to give them access to their money. We should be shutting Iran off from all their money, all their funds. It is absolutely evil to provide this regime with any amount of resources, no matter what the calculation might be. You are handing evil people the resources to conduct their nefarious actions. I don't understand any calculus. What is the best thing for Jewish educators to do? I think the best thing that Jewish educators can do right now is get across the message that Israel is determined, that Israel is confident, that Israel is going to take care of itself, and that Israel will be, right now it's 95% safe, and soon it will be 100% safe again. I think that is very, very important. I think it's important for Jewish educators to teach the importance of prayer, of turning to God in your own words and expressing what is important to you, what you want to happen, and I think that's God and confidence is incredibly important for Israeli educators to get across, and also the idea that every life is important. I'm sure you've seen Galant's human animals quotes referring to Hamas militants. Is this an odd translation from Hebrew? I'm not sure. I didn't see the quote. I don't know what he meant by that. So I don't know. I'm currently in a Twitter debate with Rabbi Ephraim Goldberg from Boca about whether or not Hamas members are animals or they're human beings, and you can look at my Twitter to see that. And I'm planning to write an article about that. Can you describe the roles of Prime Minister and Defense Minister in decision making for military strategy and implementation? Yeah, look. Israel, I actually had, it's interesting though that you asked this, I had a conversation with Prime Minister Netanyahu himself about this a couple of months ago, almost a year ago now, about this, because I didn't understand it. I think you and I probably share the same confusion about this. In the United States, the President of the United States is the commander-in-chief and makes all decisions. He has his Secretary of Defense that advises him, and he has his cabinet, his national security agency that advises him, but he makes the call. That's not the way it works here. There is a security cabinet and there's a military. And as Prime Minister Netanyahu explained it to me, the military and the security cabinet, including the defense minister, can stop a prime minister from doing something that he wanted to do. So Prime Minister Netanyahu explained to me that he wanted to attack Iran in 2011 and 2012, and the security cabinet and the IDF, through budget cutbacks and saying that they don't have the budget to do something and saying that they don't think it's a right idea, stop the prime minister from conducting an attack. Now, if that's true, I don't know. That's definitely the process here. For sure, that is the process. But what happens is the prime minister has a security cabinet made up of elected officials. They are advised by the military, and they are, and then they come to decisions on strategy of what to do. But it's not a one-man show. It's not like the United States of America where the president ultimately makes the final decision. It's not how it works here. The picture of little kids in dog cages, yeah, I saw that. I don't know, and I really hope not. Hamas has kids as hostages. These sick barbarians have no sense of mercy and humanity, and that's all I can say. Who funded the operation? Iran. Iran is the funder of this operation. If we finally cut off the head of the snake and destroy the Iranian leadership, not the Iranian people, the Iranian leadership, 90% of this stuff would stop. Do they have an idea about what they're going to do about the hostages? I'm sure they do. They're definitely not going to tell us what their ideas are. So in that sense, but I hope they have an idea. They're definitely not going to make that idea public. Are you confident that there will not be any more attacks on citizens? No, I'm not 100% confident about that. I can't say that. I can't say that there won't be attack. I think there's going to be rockets attack on civilians. I think there are going to be terrorist attacks on civilians. But in that sense, I think that it's like any other day in Israel, as crazy as that sounds. I don't think that we're looking for that there's going to be much different than that. So I don't think anybody could ever say that there's not going to be any attacks on civilians. I don't think the level of attacks that we saw on Shabbat and on Sunday and a little tiny bit yesterday, I don't think that's going to happen anymore. We're not going to see Hamas members coming across the border in that sense. We put up tanks around the borders. and we've essentially sealed the border again. So I don't think that we're going to have those issues. Is this a sign of a war, Gog and Magog? I've heard sources that rabbis think Mashiach will come around Pesach. Listen, obviously I don't know when Mashiach's going to come, okay? And obviously nobody else does. And throughout Jewish history, and this is not me speaking, this is the Rambam has written this and others, Jewish leaders have made the mistake of pointing to world events and saying, Mashiach's around the corner. Obviously, we're one day closer to Mashiach happening than we were yesterday, and then tomorrow will be one step even closer. But I don't think that we should be starting to make predictions about Mashiach and Gog and Magog and anything of that nature. I think that that's foolish, and I think it's short-hearted. I think it builds people's expectations up, and then when Mashiach doesn't come, then people lose faith because of that. So I don't think we should be focusing on this as a sign of Mashiach coming. I mean, we should pray that Mashiach comes and hope that he comes and be confident that he could come today. But other than that, I don't think that we should be doing anything in terms of Mashiach. What is going to happen with the Israeli-Saudi deal, and what are the implications? I think that, again, I'm not an expert, not involved in Saudi negotiations. I've spoken to people who are. I think this puts a pause on things because Israel's going to have to focus its attention, but I think it makes it even a stronger case to the Saudis that they do not want to be aligned with the Palestinians. This is what the Palestinians stand for, and they, looking forward to modernization, normalization, and moving forward, do not want to be with this regressive Palestinian movement that is going to drag them down. So I think this, in the long run, bolsters the chances for a stronger Israeli-Saudi peace deal. Why does Israel still feel they need to warn Gazans to leave? Because we're a moral people. We are a moral people, and we do not want innocent civilians killed. It's that simple. We're the Jewish people. We're different than everybody else. We're a light out to the nations. As much as we want to have revenge and vengeance, we're better than that. So we don't want Gazan children to be hurt. We want them to be safe. We don't want Gazan mothers who are innocent. Now, if you are an enemy of mine and you have even called for my death and destruction, then I want you eliminated from this earth. But if you're an innocent child, then get them out of there. You know, that's who we are as a people. What should we be physically doing to help the situation? I don't know what you mean by physically, but you should be praying. You should be lobbying your member of Congress, and you should be making donations to Israeli organizations that are helping people in bad situations. How long do you think this is going to? Think it's going to be bad? This bad? I'm not okay. How long do I think this is going to go on for? It's going to go on for a long time. This is not going to be a short thing. This is not going to be a couple of days. It's not going to be a couple of weeks. It's not going to be a couple of months. This is going to be going on for a while. Announce its intentions going forward. I don't know. Israel announcing its intentions going forward. Israel's not announcing its intentions going forward. Everybody knows Israel's about to be rolling tanks into Gaza. They don't need to make an announcement about that. Everybody understands that's not a secret. Where Israel's going to go and how they're going to do it, that's not going to be broadcast. How long do you think the people of Hamas will be able to stand the food blockade? Is there any historical precedent for this? Yes. This is not. Hamas is going to try to play this up as a humanitarian situation, that the people in Gaza are not going to have food and they don't have water and electricity, and they're baloney. They're fine. Okay, I'm sorry, but they're fine. Hamas has been waiting for this for a long time. They have the backup for this. Don't believe the Hamas stories of people crying in the streets and starving in the streets. It's not going to be true. What is the hopeful outcome of entering Gaza? Will Israel take it back? I don't think Israel is going to take Gaza back, but I think we're going to. I think it'll be a complete failure of Israel's part if they don't eliminate every single member of Hamas. I think that's the goal, that there is no Hamas control of Gaza after this. Who will be in charge? I don't know. But and what will happen? What will Gaza look like the day after Hamas? I don't know. But Israel's stated intentions are to eliminate Hamas once and for all. What's the best chance Israel has towards ensuring this never happens again on any front? Eliminating Hamas. The better chance, eliminating Iran, which probably won't happen. What actions would you like to see the United States Armed Forces take in order to help and support the IDF? So Israel, the entire idea of Zionism, the entire idea of the state of Israel is that Israel defends itself by itself. It's very nice that America is sending an aircraft carrier over and an entire group, but this is we're going to defend ourselves by ourselves. We're not going to have foreign troops on our soil. So I don't know. I think that the United States is sending over ships in order, and this is what President Biden, alluded to when he said that if any other country decides to take steps that take advantage of this, I think he was sending a warning to Iran: do not get involved. We see Hezbollah has not been involved, so in that sense, that's very good. Okay, we're gonna only do about 2 or 3 more minutes here. Do you think that terrorists? How much warning are Gazan civilians getting? They know it's coming. They know 100% that's coming, and they've been told they've been given evacuation routes of how to get out, and that's pretty good. Do you think terrorists are hiding in the UN shelters in Gaza? For sure, hiding in schools, they're hiding in hospitals. These people have no morality, no sense of dignity. Why should we not take Gaza back? Israel shouldn't take Gaza back because we don't want to be in control of this place. It's a hellhole. It'll only cause us more deaths and destruction. And until we're able to keep peace there and make sure that we be safe, I wouldn't want this place back. I want our enemies dead. Is there any surprise that world governments came out in support of Israel or didn't? I don't know off the top of my head, but the fact that there's no United Nations Security Council meeting to tell Israel to de-escalate is nothing short of miraculous. What is your take on the director of Human Rights Watch criticizing the U.S. Defense Force money for complete siege? Okay, the Human Rights Watch is an organization that is anti-Semitic in its core. They are essentially a mouthpiece for Israel's enemies. Do not listen to anything that they say. They are going to criticize Israel right and left, no matter what. Are there any notable members of the government that might be interested in retaking the Gaza Strip? Of course, there are security members. There are members of the Israeli government and ministers in the cabinet that named Bezalel Smotrich and Ben Gvir, who would like to do nothing less than take over Gaza for sure. Yes, and that's what they're arguing for. Okay, last question. Do the protests around the world have any effect on the conflict? Zero. The protests are tiny. You're talking about a couple hundred people here and there. These are insignificant protests. And the world looks at them and says, you're supporting rape, kidnap, and murder unprovoked. This is who you are. This is anybody coming out and supporting is telling us exactly who they are. I want to end with one very strong message. Today, we are better than we were yesterday. Tomorrow, we will be better than we are today. We are confident, we are determined. We will win this fight. We will win this war, and Israel will be safe again. God watches over us. He is the Shomer Yisrael. He does neither sleeps nor slumbers, and we have full confidence in God's protection. The Israeli army is strong. It is determined. It is confident. Our leaders are strong, determined, and confident, and the Israeli people are strong. They are confident. We will be better. Shalom from Israel.